Alright, so now we're ready to take our model and actually put it into our model space. So I'm going to go ahead and, just so we can do a little bit of review, import that model, find wherever that file is. In this case I put it on the desktop, and select that guy, load it in. Our units were in feet when we modeled, so we want to maintain that. If you need to rescale, you can do that. You should look at the height of this, usually, or some measurement about the bounding dimensions. If you put like a 10,000 foot by 10,000 foot square ground plane, you can put that in there as well. So this is right. AutoCAD primitives, you want this to be by layer. You can, there's an option in here at some point to include the color, but that's not necessary anyway. So we're just going to go ahead and hit OK. Alright, and now it's in the scene. And if we go ahead and orbit around, we can zoom in. You can see this guy. And can't press F10 because that'll mess with my rendering, but if you press F10, that'll pull up your render setup. And if I hit render, we now have our geometry in here and we can start to visualize it. Alright, so we'll go ahead, and the first thing we need to do is we need to get our lighting system set up here. So I'm going to go ahead and leave that open. And I'm going to go under here, under the Create, Systems, Daylight. Alright, and it's going to ask us a question, do you want us to control this? And we hit yes. Alright, and then we click and draw. Alright. And then under the Modify tab, we can come over here and we pan up sunlight parameters. We're going to go ahead to Mental Ray, Sun, and Mental Ray, Sky. It's going to ask us if you want to create the sky. Hit yes. Okay. So now we'll do another quick test render. See if that. Alright, now you can see that we actually have some of the stuff going on in here. So the daylighting has started to take an effect. Hit cancel. We're going to go ahead and then set this to Mental Ray Photometric Lighting. So it's going to load a bunch of other stuff that we're going to have to tune and adjust. You can see that popped up. It got a lot more intense. This is going to give you sort of a nuclear blast of color here. So we're going to have to reload our environment. If we go under rendering, we can go under press 8 and get to our environment tab, and we can start to load up some other stuff. And now this is if you had a Mental Ray Sky and things didn't load up and you have to modify that stuff, we can do that from here. So we'll go into our maps, and under the map browser it'll start up here. But if you scroll down, there's a Mr. Physical Sky or Mental Ray Physical Sky. So select that, and that's going to immediately affect that. Under exposure control, you want to do Mental Ray Photographic. And then we're going to go under here and set this to indoor daytime for the exposure control. Right. Okay, now we're ready to do another quick test render, and you can see we're starting to get a better, relatively clear sense of what this looks like. So now we're almost ready to go inside. So again, so you guys can pause for a moment and see the screen, so you guys can see everything you want to have in here. We adjusted that. We adjusted this, and then we adjusted these two guys, these two drop downs. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and close out the Environmental Effects tab and the Rendering toolbar for a moment. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to place a camera so I can set a view here. And we'll do it in Plan. And so we can start to adjust some of the zoom extent. I'm going to select this, right click on it, and then I can go and hide that selection. So now I don't have to see that piece of geometry. And so if you didn't put a ground plane in, you don't have to worry about that. And if you right click in the up here, you can unhide the stuff. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and under here create a camera. We're going to create a target camera. We're going to ultimately end up using that in our guy. So I'm going to click and activate this view. We're going to create a interior perspective here. And the nice thing about this target is once it's created, we can move it around. Move that around. And I'm going to move this up. Move this up as well. Okay. Alright, now I'm going to go ahead and set this. If I right click on the front view, cameras, set that to my camera, and I'm going to set this, I'm going to left click on this, and I'm going to set it to shaded. Okay. Now if I come in here, I can start to, you get a different set of view controls. You can roll the camera, you can adjust the field of view, just like you could before. So we'll get a glimpse at our space. And then we can go ahead, should we so choose, we can go ahead and start to move this guy around. So we can do this. All right, now we're in a box. Now there's no way that light can get in, so we need to set the materials at least very quickly so we can do a quick test render and make sure everything's all right. So the thin glass is what I set to the exterior layer here. You can see that gets highlighted. So if I press M for my material palette, I've gone ahead and started to set this up already. But then we can go here. I'll just show you how to do it. So you're going to set to Arc and Design. Those are mental ray materials. And then under the templates here, we're just going to use thin glass geometry. So it's one dimension, or basically 2-dimensionally thick. It's not 3-dimensionally. Okay. So we take that, and then we can just go and apply that geometry to that. You can see that updated in our rendering. All right. And so at this point, we're ready to do a test render. So again, I'll just go ahead and you can press F10. If we go into our camera view, just hit render. All right, we're starting to get that. I'm going to go ahead and unhide all. You can see our ground plane appeared again. And just again, I'll just do a quick render of that. You can see that. Just did a little bit to our light bouncing. Alright, so now we have a little bit stuff we can work with here. We can start to come in and we'll be able to modify some of this other stuff here shortly. Alright, but that's going to get you set up at least with the daylighting system and getting your geometry in.